Good day, everyone. Welcome to Grade 11 Philosophy Online Class. I'm your teacher, Mrs. Lovely J. Tupal. You can call me Mom Love. For this video, we're going to continue our lesson for Module 5 in our second quarter. Lesson 3. Our topic is exercising freedom in a responsible and beneficial manner. This is the continuation of our lesson last week. Okay, so you're going to analyze the picture below, and then you're going to answer the question that follows. Okay, in this picture, what can you see? Yes, you can see a file of books, or this looks like a domino. Yes. Now, I want you to answer the following question. What do you think is the message the picture above is trying to convey? How do you think does the picture relates to the previous lesson? Okay, you're going to write your answer in a separate sheet of paper. You can write the answer in your outputs that you have answered last week. So, okay, question number 1. For you, how this picture related to our topic, which is freedom. And what this pictures tries to tell you. So I want you to answer that question. Okay? Okay, so now let us discuss. Always remember, freedom should be exercised with control and reasonable limit. Meaning, being a human, we enjoy freedom, but we need to understand that it is not absolute. We are born with our freedom. But we should always control, and we should remember that our freedom have reasonable limits. Is it clear? Example. A student may choose not to enter the jeepney first despite being first in line to give way to an elderly woman. So, is there a responsible use of freedom in this situation? Yes, there is a responsible use of freedom. There are two choices. The first one is a student may enter the jeepney first, and the other one is to give way to an elderly woman. So in this situation, the student chose to give way to an elderly woman. So the student chose his freedom in a responsible way. If you were the situation, what you are going to do? You may be very upset a friend for losing a thing she borrowed but refuses to confront her because you already know that she already feels bad of herself for the thing she had done. So, same. Is there responsible freedom? She has choices? Yes, she has choice. She has choices. The first one is either to confront her friend or just to let her friend be comforted and not to confront her. But then she chose not to confront her friend because according to her, she already feels bad of herself for the thing she had done. So in this situation, she became a responsible friend of that person. Next example. You may be very angry with your teacher for scolding you in front of the entire class, but you refrain from answering back at her since it will be considered as disrespectful act. So what are the choices? She may be angry, but she refrained from answering back at her teacher. So in this situation, she used her freedom with responsibility. He did not answer back to his or her teacher. So the consequence, the teacher did not get angry with him or her for a longer time. Okay, remember? Giving limits to our personal freedom simply means sacrificing certain self-interest and accept that there are things beyond our control. And we should always sacrifice for the interests of others. Remember, God sacrificed His only Son, Jesus Christ, to redeem us in all our sins. So as the gift, we should be thankful for that sacrifice God done for us. So our ability to think and know what is right and what is wrong serve as guide in recognizing and deciding the limitations of our freedom. And freedom should be exercised with regard for knowledge and truth. As a rational being, it is natural for us to think before we act. We should use our freedom to acquire knowledge, which in turn are useful in making right and sound decisions, essential in dealing with our life situation. So, as a rational being, we're not like animals. We know what is right and what is wrong. We should always think before we act. Should always think before we act. Because if we do that, we cannot hurt other feelings and we can do the right decision every day. Okay. Example, to correctly answer a multiple choice item in an examination, a student has to study his or her lesson. Otherwise, she cannot answer the test. Yes, in this example, the student uses his or her freedom to acquire knowledge. Of course, if he or she will not going to study, she might fail the exam. In a real life situation, you can use your freedom to acquire knowledge. We should also be equipped with the ability to acquire information and truthful knowledge because it will aid us in making wise and informed choices. Example, in casting our votes during SSG election, we will not vote to a candidate because of he or she is attractive or appealing, but because she or he is knowledgeable on the important schools issues. Of course, if you use your freedom to acquire information and truthful knowledge, you are going to make wise and informed choices. So in this situation, you're not going to vote for that candidate because she or he is handsome or beautiful, but because you're going to know the information, know his or her background. Is she really fit to govern the school and the school body in general? So next, freedom should be exercised to uphold the freedom of others. Freedom is recognized and guaranteed right for all persons, meaning freedom should be enjoyed by all. But it is important to remember that freedom should be exercised not as a tool to restrict the freedom of others, but as a means to enable others to fully enjoy their own freedom. So, you exercise your freedom, but you also uphold the freedom of others. A teacher doing her or his class discussion under the narratory instead of having it inside the classroom. So in this situation, the teacher has freedom and she also used her freedom to support the freedom of others, to support the freedom of her student. Her student has freedom where to study and where to study their lesson, and they can study that in in nature or even in the place they are comfortable. But nowadays, there are many places online, modular, or many modalities that student can learn. Next, you shared your hard-earned money to cater the needs of your friend who is in dire needs of it for the realization of his or her school project. So your friend uses her freedom to help and support the freedom of his friend to realize the school project she really wanted. Now, for our activity. Activity 2, you're going to answer this in a separate sheet of paper or in long coupon band. Reflect in yourself the given action that follows and give possible consequences on the given actions. So there are two columns here, action and consequences. You're going to fold your paper into two. The first one, student studying his or her lessons. What will be the consequences or what will be the effect if he or she study his or her lesson? Number two, a driver observing traffic lights. What will be the effect? Number three, athletes practicing in a gym. What will be the consequence? Number four, a person taking illegal drugs. What will be the consequence if he takes legal drugs? In number five, a student practicing conservation of natural resources. So you're going to answer that in your paper. And it is one of the output in your module. So what you have learned? This is a question that you are going to personally answer for your own self if you really learned the topic in our module. What enables the person to exercise limits in his or her freedom? How does a person exercise limitation in his or her freedom? Number two, how does truthful knowledge contribute to human freedom? Meaning how using truthful knowledge it will contribute to your freedom. Number three, how can you show respect for the freedom of others? So how do you use your freedom but you also respect the freedom of others? So it is answerable by your own self. No need to write your answer. Just think about it and answer it honestly. Remember, freedom is an intrinsic and essential property of human freedom. Human person by nature seeks freedom, and our freedom makes us distinct from other beings. Freedom gives us the power and ability to be what we want and to decide and create ourselves. There are three kinds of freedom. Physical freedom refers to the absence of physical restraint. Psychological freedom, the freedom of choice. Moral freedom, the responsible use of freedom which upholds humans' dignity and good. Important elements of human freedom are voluntariness and responsibility. Voluntariness refers to the ability of the person to act out of his or her own free will. Responsibility refers to the person being accountable for his or her action under consequences. As a person possessing self-determination, individual action as it is freely chosen by an individual then defines who and what kind of individual we are. Freedom should be exercised with due regard for the welfare of other persons, and one's freedom should be exercised not as a tool to restrict the freedom of others, but as means to enable others to fully enjoy their own freedom. Having freedom and exercising it bears responsibilities. All our actions have consequences that come with it. Therefore, it is important to act with prudence and reflect on possible courses of actions in making decisions. So, for next activity, that you're going to test, you're going to reflect on a problem you are currently facing. You are going to create a graphic organizer outlining the possible choices you can make and their corresponding consequence. So in here, you're going to draw a big circle. And after drawing a big circle, you're going to draw a smaller circle. 3 smaller circle. Okay, the big circle, you're going to write the problem, at least one problem. And then you're going to write possible choice or possible solution for that one problem. You're going to write 3 solutions. Oh, possible solution 1, possible solution 2, and possible solution 3. And then, in the consequence, you're going to write 2 consequences for the solution, for each of the solution. Understand? Okay, I hope you understand. Example, the problem is failing grades. So what are your possible solutions? To study, to have possible choices 1 to study, possible choices 2 is to have a tutor, possible choices 3 is to enroll in more comprehensive study. Then example, the consequence or the result will be if you study, then you will pass, but there are distractions. So that is the example. This is easy because you can write the problem practically as you experience it. Okay? You're not going to write the problem that you are not experiencing. You should write your own problem so you can write all the possible solution and the possible effects of that solution to your problem. If you're going to do this, then this will help you to solve your own problem in the future. Okay? For your assessment, you're going to write this assessment in your papers. You're going to write the letter that corresponds your answer. Okay, only the letter of the correct answer. Number 1, this refers to the ability to make choices and perform action. It is an intrinsic and essential property of the human person. A, freedom. B, free will. C, psychological freedom. D, voluntariness. 2. A type of freedom from physical restraint. A. Moral freedom. B. Physical freedom. C. Psychological freedom. D. Voluntariness. Okay, number 3. This is the kind of freedom which allows a person to perform action which he or she considers right and wise. A. Freedom of choosing. B. Voluntarism. C. Psychological freedom. D. Moral freedom. 4. It is the ability to act out one's free will and self-determination. A. Voluntarism. B. Responsibility. C. Psychological freedom. D. Voluntariness. Number 5. This means that a person is being accountable for his or her action and their consequences. A. Responsibly. B. Responsibility. C. Irresponsibleness. D. Voluntariness. Okay. Next, for letter B, you're going to put a check in the number in your paper if the statement shows responsible use of freedom. If it does not show use of responsible freedom, then you're not going to put anything. Clear? Okay. Number 1, instead of buying new dress for a party she's going to attend, Sheena decides to borrow a dress from her sister. Is there responsible use of freedom? If do you think there is, then you may put a check in the after the number in your paper. Okay, number 2. Knowing that her classmate will be humiliated by the photo she took, Mika still posted the photo in their class group chat. Number 3. Despite his classmates' friends threatening him, Mark decided to tell his teacher that his classmates stole a test paper for their final examination. Number 4. Instead of going out with his friends on a Saturday night, Miguel spent his time with his family. And number 5. Although the beauty product Kim is selling is very in demand, Kim stopped selling it knowing that it can cause harm to the skin if used for a long time. Letter C. Analyzing situation. I'm going to read the following situation, the next slide. How you're going to apply prudence in making a choice to exercise your freedom more responsibly. When you see prudence, wise decision, write your answer in your paper. So this is a continuation of your assessment. You're going the correct answer. Number 1, your family is experiencing financial difficulty. You are being enrolled in a private school with a high tuition fee, but your parents do not want you to transfer to a public school despite your situation. As their daughter or son, what are you going to do? A. You're going to stay in your school because that is what your parents want you to do. B. You won't mind because that is your parents' problem. C. You will explain to your parents that transferring school is the best way to resolve the family's financial problem. And D. You'll stop going to school. A teacher informed you that your brother has to repeat some subject due to his failing grades. She asked you to tell your parents about it and that she wanted to meet them. But your brother asked you not to tell your parents and that you will find another person to stand as your parents. What are you going to do? A. You will not tell your parents because your brother asked you not to do it. B. You will not tell your parents in exchange of your brother's allowance. C. You won't mind because you do not care about your brother's problem. D. You will tell your parents because you know that granting your brother's request will not do any good but instead rather will just lead him to do the things that could again affect his studies. Number 3. Your best friend humiliated you, making you a laughing stock in your school. As her best friend, you also knew a lot about her that would humiliate her as well when exposed. What then are you going to do? A. You will not do what she did to you because you know that it will not do any good. Letter B. You will expose her secret so that she will have the same fate as you. Letter C. You will confront and start a fight with her. Letter D. You will not do the same. Instead, you will do action that will gain back your friendship. You are invited to a debut party of your best friend. She expected you to be there. Her birthday falls on a Wednesday, but you're having a final exam the next day. How are you going to deal with the situation? A. You will go to the party and will not study for your exam. You will not go to the party and you will study for your exam. Letter B. Letter C. You will go to the party but you will go home early to study. Letter D. You will not go to the party and will not study. Okay, number 5. You saw a classmate bullied by your schoolmate outside your school. You just turned a blind eye and walked the other way because you do not want to get involved. The next day, you heard the news that your bullied classmate was admitted to the hospital due to injuries. The school and the family of the bullied child is asking if someone saw the incident to have someone to testify. The bullies already warned you not to say a single word, otherwise they will do the same to you. What are you going to do then? A. You will not report because your safety is at stake. B. You will report to prevent the bullies from doing it again. C. You will not report because you do not care about your classmate. D. You will report the incident in exchange for money. So what are you going to do? Okay, finish then. Additional task. You're going to summarize your ideas on freedom by completing table below. Complete the table and write your responses in each column. So, the first column, I am free because, and the other column, as a free person, I must. So here, in the first column, you're going to write the reason why you are free, or what are the evidences in your life that you can say you are a free person. In this column, in the next column, in the right column, as a free person, I must. So, you're going to write the things that you are going to do as a free person using your freedom responsibly. So, you're going to write 5 reasons each here on this column. And you're going also to write 5 reasons or 5 evidences that you are really free. Okay? So, that's simple. So that are that's that are the outputs that you're going to pass for this module 1. You're going to pass the answer in what I know, the answer in activity 1 for lesson 1 that drew me a picture, and the answer in the question, and also what you're going to pass the answer in your reflection in what's more, and also in what's new in lesson 2, what's more in lesson 2, what's in lesson 3, what's more in lesson 3, what I can do, assessment, and these additional tasks. Okay, so that will be your output for this module. So these are the references. Abelia, Shoko, these are the references in these materials. Remember, the right to swing my fist ends where the other man's nose begins. By Oliver Wendell Holmes, American physician, 1809-1894. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. God bless you all.